welcome to my channel. My name is Staci-Ann Smiles, and today is another Phenomenal Woman Wednesday. On my channel every week is where you'll get your midweek motivational uplift based in biblical truth. And today's video is titled, Check Your Fruit. Ladies, check your fruit. And it's based on the biblical truth found in Genesis 1, verse 28, which reads, Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Now, it is an honor for me to celebrate womanhood. Womanhood. We are one of God's greatest creations. We are one of God's greatest creations. First, because He's created us in His image. And secondly, because He's created us with a carrying ability. We as women have wombs. And I don't just mean a uterus. I don't just mean a physical womb. We have spiritual wombs, we have mental wombs, and we have emotional wombs. Now, what that means is we are capable of not just giving life physically, but we are also capable of giving life spiritually. We are capable of giving life emotionally, and we are capable of giving life mentally. Now, seeds are planted in us, and when a seed is planted within our wombs, we as women have the power to incubate that seed, to provide warmth and nutrients for growth and development. I think that's a superpower. I think it is a superpower for us to provide the necessary space, the necessary nutrients and warmth to develop seeds within us and then give birth to them. I think that is our superpower as women. So in Genesis 1, when the Lord instructs us to be fruitful and multiply, the Lord is asking us to produce. He's instructing us to give birth, not just physically, but He's instructing us to give birth spiritually, mentally, and emotionally as well. Physically, we were created, we were designed to give birth to children. But mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, depending on the seed that is implanted within us and depending on how we nourish that seed, we can give birth to good fruit or bad fruit. Now, every day, in different situations and circumstances of life, seeds are implanted in us. The way we were raised, seeds are implanted in us. The way when we went to school and how we were taught, seeds were implanted in us. Our neighbor, our interactions with our neighbors, seeds are implanted in us. What we watch on TV, what we listen to in music, what we see on social media, books that we read, different seeds are implanted in us every single day throughout the journey of life. Now, maybe along this journey of life, you lost someone. And from that loss, a seed of depression was implanted in your mental womb. Depending on how you nourish that seed, you could possibly, if you're not careful, produce suicidal thoughts. You could possibly give birth to suicidal thoughts or suicide. Now, maybe you get nervous every time you're asked to do a public presentation, and that nervousness has now implanted a seed of anxiety in you. Depending on how you nourish that seed of anxiety, you could possibly give birth to fear and be so fearful that it consumes you in everything else that you do. Now, we all have desires, and sometimes the desires that we have are based on worldly standards or based on our own selfish needs or wants. And if that selfish desire, that selfish worldly desire is implanted within our spiritual wombs, we can possibly give birth to sin versus giving birth to our God-given purpose. It all depends on how we nourish and incubate the seeds within us. It all depends on how we nourish it. Now, just like a physical pregnancy, a pregnant woman has to go to a nutritionist for her to monitor and direct her in the nutrition that she needs to feed that fetus, to nourish that seed. The same way we have to monitor and be mindful of the seeds within our mental womb, our emotional womb, and our spiritual wombs. We have to be mindful of how we're nourishing those seeds, because How we nourish them is what we produce, good or bad fruit. And the best way to nourish any seed within you, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, is through the Word of God, the bread of life. The Word of God is the bread of life, and we want to produce life. And so we have to nourish that seed with life to life. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed in the renewing of your mind." Philippians 4:8 says, "Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, think on these things." When you renew your mind and think about pure things, you're choosing not to nourish negative seeds. You're choosing to birth life and not death through your thoughts, through your mind. 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Casting all your cares, your anxieties on him because he cares for you." Philippians 4:6 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything pray." In everything, prayer. Pray about everything. Pray about everything. When you cast all your cares on the Lord, you're choosing not to give birth to fear. You're choosing to give birth to hope. Pray about everything. 1 John 2:17 says, "The world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever." And Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." When you choose God's will for your life over your own selfish worldly desires, you will give birth to purpose. You will give birth to purpose. What are you producing, ladies? Check your fruit. The Word of God says, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it." What are we filling the earth with? What are we producing? What are we giving birth to? Our mental health is a result of how we nourish the seeds within our mental womb. Our emotional health is a result of how we nourish the seeds within our emotional womb. Our purpose, or the lack thereof, is a result of how we nourish desires within our spiritual wombs. What are we producing? Check your fruit. Ladies, check what we are producing, because what we produce, what we give birth to, is what fills the earth, is what subdues the earth. We should be giving birth to the fruits of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. We should be giving birth to these things. We should be life givers. That's what God has called us. He has deemed us to be life givers, and we are the only ones that can do so. Men can't give life. Men can't birth anything. They weren't created or designed to do that. We were, as women. We were. So what are you producing? Check your fruits. Check your fruits. The results, your fruits will tell you the seeds that are in you and how you've nourished them. Just look around you. Look at your mindset. Are you filled with negative thoughts? Are you filled with depression? Are you filled with doubt? Are you filled with fear? Check your fruits. Check your fruits. And then feed on the bread of life. Nourish them with the right things. Nourish your mental womb. Nourish your emotional womb. Nourish your spiritual womb with the Word of God, because that is the bread of life. And when you eat on life, when you digest life, life will come from you. Life will be produced through you. And then we can fill the earth with the life that comes from us. Ladies, I love you. I love you. This was another Phenomenal Woman Wednesday. I pray that you're able to glean from this video. I pray, oh God, that you will be mindful of the fruits that you're producing and what you're filling the earth with and what you're nourishing the seeds within you with. I love you. I love you. I love you. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next week.